Hello, and a very warm welcome. I'm so glad you have chosen to spend your time here, in this quiet sanctuary for your mind. This story was created to be a gentle companion, a soft place to rest your thoughts and find a peaceful contentment as you prepare for sleep. If our time together brings you comfort, a simple like, a subscription, or a kind comment is always so deeply appreciated. Tonight we will be visiting the Scriptorium of Stillness, a place where the world's gentle sounds are given a voice. We will join a quiet scribe as he learns to listen to the soft music of the night. Prepare to be soothed by the hum of moon-petal flowers and the delicate chime of ancient seeds, and to find your own peace within these quiet hours. Chapter 1. The Scriptorium of Stillness. One ought to know that some journeys are measured not in the distance traveled, but in the quiet that is found at their end. For Calin, the final steps of his long walk were the softest, leading him down a path cushioned by years of fallen leaves to the door of a round building that seemed to have grown from the valley floor. This was the Scriptorium of Stillness, a place spoken of in hushed tones, a haven for those who listen. The air here already felt different, holding a gentle weight and the clean, earthy scent of damp soil and green, living things. Pushing open the heavy wooden door, which moved with a silent, well-oiled grace, was like stepping from one world into another. The clamor of memory, the faint ringing of distant towns and hurried conversations simply fell away, unable to cross the threshold. Inside, a profound and welcoming quiet settled over him, as comforting and as tangible as a soft woolen blanket being draped across his shoulders. He took a slow, deep breath, and it felt like the first true breath he had taken in a very long time, filling his lungs with peace itself. The primary scent within the scriptorium was that of old paper, a dry and wonderfully clean fragrance that spoke of centuries of patient thoughts recorded on parchment. Woven through it was the sweet, warm perfume of beeswax, emanating from a single large lantern that rested on a central table, its flame a steady, unwavering teardrop of gold. This one light was enough to fill the circular room with a gentle, encompassing glow, a light that seemed to soak into the pale wood of the walls and the tall, silent shelves, making the entire space feel warm and safe, a cozy pocket of light in the growing twilight. Kalen's eyes slowly adjusted, taking in the sheer number of books that surrounded him. They were not arranged with sharp precision. Rather, they seemed to rest comfortably on their shelves, their leather and parchment spines softened with age. He ran a gentle hand along the smooth, worn wood of the nearest shelf, feeling the subtle grain beneath his fingertips, a texture that felt solid and reassuring. There was a history of peace here, a legacy of quiet contemplation held within the very structure of the place, and he felt his own tense posture begin to soften in its presence. His own small desk was tucked into an alcove beside a large, circular window, a perfect vantage point from which to watch the day complete its gentle surrender to the night. The window pane was thick and clear, and through it, he could see the dark shapes of a walled garden. He sat down in the simple wooden chair, which accepted his weight with only the faintest sigh of wood. The surface of the desk was smooth and cool to the touch, cleared for his work, an empty space waiting to be filled not with noise, but with the essence of its absence. As the last vestiges of daylight faded from the sky, the scriptorium seemed to draw further into itself, becoming even more of a sanctuary. The lantern's golden light deepened, and the shadows in the corners of the room grew long and soft, holding no menace, only an invitation to rest. Kalen felt the muscles in his jaw, which he had held tight for so long, finally release. He could feel the gentle, rhythmic slowing of his own heartbeat, a steady cadence that was beginning to match the profound stillness of the room around him. The feeling of safety was absolute. Here, there were no sudden noises to startle the senses, no urgent demands on his attention. The very air seemed to dampen sound, to encourage slowness and deliberation in every small movement. He rested his hands on the cool surface of the desk and simply sat, allowing the deep, foundational quiet of the scriptorium to wash over him, cleansing his mind of clutter and leaving behind a smooth, clean slate. He closed his eyes for a long moment, focusing only on the sensations around him, the warmth of the lantern light on his face, the faint, sweet smell of beeswax, the solid feel of the chair beneath him, and above all, the vast and beautiful quiet. This was more than just a place. It was a feeling, a state of being that he had sought for so long. Here, in the Scriptorium of Stillness, he felt he had finally, gently come home. Chapter 2. The Ink of Fading Daylight. As a deep velvety blue settled into the sky outside the round window, Kalen knew it was time to begin his gentle work. The world was quieting, its daytime voice fading into a soft murmur, and in that transition, the first delicate sounds of the night were beginning to stir. He turned his attention inward to the room itself, listening for the smallest of its secrets. It took a moment for his hearing to attune to the profound stillness, to learn to hear the shape of the silence itself. Then he heard it, the whisper-soft rustle of wings, a sound like dry leaves skittering across smooth wood. His eyes found the source, a large moth with wings the color of dust and moonlight, circling the warm lantern in a slow, hypnotic pattern. Each turn of its flight was the tiny sigh in the air, a sound so delicate it felt more like a feeling than something one could hear. This, he thought, would be the first entry, the first note in his litany for the quiet hours. He then became aware of another sound, deeper and more resonant, the slow, patient groan of the scriptorium's ancient wooden beams, a sound of settling, of a structure at peace with its own great age and weight. Just as he was about to reach for his tools, a presence, soft and unhurried, entered his awareness. It was Nora, the keeper of the scriptorium, a woman who moved with such silent grace that she seemed a part of the quiet itself. She placed a thick earthenware mug on the corner of his desk, its warmth instantly radiating into the cool wood. A soft curl of steam rose from it, carrying the earthy, comforting scent of chamomile and dried lavender, a fragrance that spoke of sleep and serenity. He looked up at her, and she offered a simple, warm smile that needed no words, a gesture of pure welcome and understanding. After she had departed as quietly as she arrived, Kalen turned his focus to the small, smooth stone bowl and the velvet pouch on his desk. This was the ritual of the noctule ink, a process as meditative as the writing itself. He untied the leather cord of the pouch and tipped a small amount of fine silvery powder into the bowl. It was dust from the dried petals of the moon-petal flower, and it shimmered in the lantern light, a tiny galaxy of captured twilight. The touch of the powder was impossibly soft, like cool silk against his fingertips. From a small glass vial, he added a few drops of clear liquid, dew that Nora collected from the garden at the precise moment between sunset and nightfall. As the dew touched the moon-petal dust, a wonderful transformation occurred. The powder and liquid swirled together, not into a murky gray, but into a luminous, silvery ink that seemed to hold a light of its own. He stirred it gently with a thin glass rod, watching as the ink spun into a slow, mesmerizing vortex, its internal light seeming to grow brighter, warmer, a pool of liquid quiet. The process had no scent, only a feeling of clean, gentle magic. With the ink prepared, he took up his quill, its feather exquisitely soft, its shaft worn smooth from long use. He dipped the nib into the shimmering ink, and it came away holding a single, perfect, glowing drop. It felt weightless in his hand, a tool of pure potential. He pulled his journal closer, a heavy book bound in soft, dark leather. The texture of the cover was supple and comforting beneath his palms, a familiar and grounding sensation that centered his thoughts. He opened the journal to a fresh page. The parchment was thick and creamy, its surface holding a faint, clean scent of its own. The blank page was not an emptiness to be filled, but a quiet space ready to receive. The warmth from the mug of tea Nora had brought him seeped into his hand as he steadied the page, the gentle heat a small anchor in the vast sea of stillness. He felt his breath align with the slow pulse of the lantern's flame, a soft, easy rhythm. With a final calming exhalation, he touched the tip of the quill to the page. He wrote the words, "A moth's wing," and as the ink flowed, the script came alive. The silver letters shone with a soft internal light, a gentle glow that seemed to breathe on the page. It did not just describe the sound, it was the sound, translated into light. The first note of the litany had been captured, and Cale Inn felt a deep, profound sense of peace settle within him. Chapter 3. The Murmur of the Sleeping Garden. A sound from beyond the window, a hum so low and gentle it was almost imperceptible, beckoned to Calen. It was a call that his newly attuned senses could not ignore. Leaving his glowing script to dry on the page, he rose from his chair and walked to the door that led into the walled garden. The wooden latch was cool and smooth under his hand. He lifted it, and the door swung open without a sound, revealing a space bathed in the soft, mysterious light of the risen stars and something more. The air that flowed in was cool and carried a delicate, sweet fragrance, a perfume that was both floral and somehow clean, like freshly fallen rain. He stepped out onto a path of soft, dark earth that felt yielding and quiet beneath his feet. The garden was a world unto itself, a sanctuary within a sanctuary. The air here vibrated with a gentle, living energy. The source of both the light and the hum was immediately apparent. All around the garden grew clusters of large, pale, bell-shaped flowers, the moon-petals Nora tended with such care. They were open now, their petals unfurled to the night sky, and from within each blossom emanated a soft, warm, golden light and the resonant hum he had heard from inside. Calen found a simple bench carved from a single piece of dark, smooth wood, its surface worn into a comfortable contour by time and gentle use. He sat down, the wood cool against his legs, and simply allowed himself to be enveloped by the garden's atmosphere. The hum of the moon petals was not a single note, but a chord of many low, harmonious tones that seemed to resonate deep within his chest. It was a sound that felt ancient and deeply calming, a lullaby sung by the earth itself. He closed his eyes, focusing only on the texture of that sound as it washed over him. As he sat there, a subtle breeze, a mere sigh of air, drifted through the garden. It was too soft to be called a wind, a gentle current that caressed his skin and stirred the leaves of the taller plants. From a corner of the garden, this gentle movement produced another layer of sound. Hanging from the slender branches of an old, gnarled tree were dozens of dry, hollow pods. The breeze set them swaying, and from within came a delicate melodic rustling, a sound like tiny, smooth seeds brushing against thin wooden walls. It was a soft, random chiming, utterly unpredictable and endlessly fascinating. He opened his eyes and watched the chime seed pods dance in the faint light. Their sound was a perfect counterpoint to the steady, resonant hum of the moon petals. One was a deep, grounding foundation of peace, while the other was a light, ethereal sprinkling of gentle wonder. Together they created a symphony of profound tranquility. The scent of the moon petals seemed to grow a little sweeter on the breeze, a delicate perfume that filled his senses without overwhelming them, a fragrance of pure, peaceful night. Kalen tilted his head back, gazing up at the sky. The stars here, away from any other light, were incredibly bright, scattered like a fine dusting of shimmering salt across a bolt of deep indigo velvet. He felt the vastness of the universe above and the deep, humming life of the garden around him. And he was a quiet, peaceful point in the center of it all. The coolness of the night air was a pleasant sensation on his face, and he felt a sense of connection to the world that was simple and pure. He stayed on the bench for a long time, doing nothing at all. He was not thinking, not planning, not remembering. He was simply being. He was a vessel, being filled to the brim with the gentle sensations of the sleeping garden, the soft light of the glowing flowers, the deep hum of their petals, the delicate chime of the seeds, the sweet scent on the cool air, the feel of the smooth wood beneath him. Each sensation was a thread, and together they were weaving a tapestry of deep, restorative calm around him. Finally, feeling a gentle chill begin to settle on his arms, he knew it was time to return inside. He stood up slowly, reluctant to leave the garden's embrace. As he walked back toward the door of the scriptorium, he carried the garden's sounds and scents with him. He was not just an observer anymore. He felt as though the garden's peaceful murmur had become a part of his own inner landscape, a quiet song that would continue to play within him long after he had closed the door. Chapter 4. The Cadence of Quietude. Returning to the warmth of the scriptorium felt like coming home in a deeper sense. The golden lantern light welcomed him, and the scent of old paper and beeswax was familiar and comforting. The tea Nora had left for him was still warm, and he took a slow, grateful sip. The taste was mild and earthy, and the warmth spread from his hands through his entire body, a gentle, grounding sensation that settled him back at his desk. His mind, already calmed by the garden, now felt as clear and still as a woodland pool at midnight. He picked up his quill again, the smooth shaft familiar and right in his hand. He no longer felt the need to actively seek out the sounds of the night. They seemed to find him now, presenting themselves to his awareness with a gentle patience. His hearing had softened, grown more receptive. He could now distinguish the individual hum of different clusters of moon petals in the garden, some a tone lower, some a touch higher, weaving together in a complex, living harmony. He dipped his quill into the glowing nocturnal ink and began to write. As he transcribed the sound of the moon petals' hum, he watched, captivated, as the silvery script flowed onto the page. The light it emitted was different from before. It was not a flicker, but a steady, warm, and unwavering glow, a perfect visual echo of the sound itself. The written words seemed to hum on the page, their soft light pulsing in a slow, deep, and steady cadence. He wrote of the garden's peace, and the very words became peaceful, radiating a tangible sense of calm that he could feel just by looking at them. Next, he turned his attention to the memory of the chime seed pods. As he wrote of their delicate, random music, the ink behaved differently again. The script for these words did not glow with a steady light. Instead, the silver letters twinkled and shimmered, fading and brightening in an unpredictable rhythm, like tiny captured stars. He could almost hear their soft, melodic rustle just by watching the light dance upon the page. He realized then that the noctual ink did not just record the sound, it recorded the feeling, the very essence and character of it. He filled a page with these observations, his hand moving in a slow, steady rhythm across the parchment. The gentle scratch of the quill was the only sound he made, a quiet counterpoint to the symphony he was chronicling. He felt no sense of effort or urgency. The thoughts flowed as smoothly as the ink from his quill, his mind a conduit for the quiet of the world around him. This simple, focused act of creation was a deep meditation, a process that dissolved any remaining vestiges of worldly concern. He paused, resting his quill, and simply observed his work. The journal lay open on the desk, its pages alive with soft, breathing light. The steady glow of the moon-petal's script and the gentle twinkling of the chime-seed's song created a beautiful, silent music. A sense of profound acceptance washed over him. He was a part of this quiet world, a small, observant piece of its grand, peaceful design. There was nothing to strive for, nothing to achieve. There was only this present moment, and it was whole and perfect. The warmth of the lantern, the comforting weight of his own stillness, the gentle glow of the page, all conspired to bring him to a state of pure being. His breath was slow and even, a soft tide rising and falling in the quiet room. He felt the gentle weight of the air, the soft touch of his clothes against his skin, the solid support of the chair. Every sensation was simple, present, and peaceful. He was not Calin, the scribe. It was just a quiet awareness, listening, observing, and breathing in the deep and wonderful cadence of quietude. He sat for what felt like a long, blissful time, lost in the gentle rhythm of the glowing page. The world outside the scriptorium, with all its noise and haste, felt like a distant memory from another lifetime. This was real. This deep, profound peace was the most real thing he had ever known. The simple act of paying gentle attention had unlocked a door within him, leading to a vast, quiet room that had been waiting for him all along. Chapter 5. A Page of Woven Peace. In the deepest, most silent hour of the night, when the world seems to hold its breath just before the dawn, Calin finally set down his quill. His work for the night was done. The soft scratching sound ceased, and the scriptorium returned to its foundational state of profound quiet. He did not feel tired, but rather filled with a clean and clear energy, a sense of deep and lasting restoration. The gentle lantern flame flickered once, as if in quiet agreement. He slowly turned the pages of his journal, starting from the very first entry. Each page was a soft landscape of shimmering light. He saw the faint fluttering script describing the dusty winged moth, the deep solid glow of the scriptorium's settling beams, the steady warm hum of the moon petals, and the delicate twinkling chime of the seeds. It was a tapestry woven from light and quiet, a physical record of his journey into the heart of stillness. The soft rhythmic pulsing of the ink was like watching a sleeping creature breathe. Running a fingertip gently over the dried ink, he found it was perfectly smooth, the light seemingly embedded within the very fibers of the parchment. There was no heat to it, only a visual warmth, a comforting glow in the dim light of the room. He felt a quiet sense of gratitude for this place, for the gentle magic of the ink, and for the simple, profound beauty of the night's soft sounds. The litany was not just a record, it was a reflection of the peace he had found. He looked toward the large circular window. The deep indigo of the night sky was beginning to soften at its eastern edge, a hint of pale lavender promising the eventual return of the sun. The garden outside was still, the moon-petal's light beginning to fade as they prepared to close against the coming day. A feeling of gentle completion settled over him. The night had offered its gifts, and he had received them with a quiet heart. This peace, he understood, was not something he had created. It was something he had simply allowed himself to notice. It was always there, humming just beneath the surface of the world's noise. The scriptorium, the garden, the ink, they were all just tools that had helped him to quiet his own mind enough to hear it. And now that he had heard it, truly heard it, he knew he would be able to find it again. The peace was not in the scriptorium, it was within him. With a soft, slow exhalation that seemed to release the very last of any stored tension, he gently closed the heavy leather cover of his journal. The moment the cover was shut, the light from within the pages was extinguished, and the book became a simple, quiet object on his desk once more, its secrets held safely inside. The peace, however, remained. It was a tangible presence in the room, a warm and gentle weight in his own chest. He reached over and with a gentle puff of air extinguished the lantern's flame. The room was plunged into a comfortable soft darkness, lit only by the faint pre-dawn light filtering through the window. He did not need the light anymore. The calm was its own form of illumination. He felt the profound quiet of the scriptorium settle into its final, deepest state, and he felt his own spirit settle with it, finding a point of perfect equilibrium and rest. He sat for a moment longer in the peaceful dark, feeling utterly content. The journey was complete. He had arrived not at a destination, but at a state of being. The litany was written, the quiet hours had been honored, and his own heart was finally still. He carried the night's woven peace within him now, a gentle, silent anchor that he knew would hold him steady long after he had walked back out into the light of day.